Hello, my name is Will Glitch, and this is my, as much as I'm sure nobody asked for this, director's commentary, quote unquote, of Still Inside 2023, a film slash remix homage, I don't even know what I'd refer to it as officially, that I made of Bo Burnham's 2021 Netflix special. I should know by now. I should know. The fact I've sat down to do this should mean that I should know all this information that I'm spitting out. But yeah, when this uploads, this will be 3 years since the original upload date of this video on my channel, which to me is a big important creative time for me, and you know I'm still really proud of it to this day. And I don't know, I just wanted to do this because I've talked about this film in this video a lot in retrospect in random videos over the past 3 years, just shortly talking about why it was made or how it was made or how it ended up and stuff like this. I even did an interview not long after it released in 2023 talking about that kind of stuff, short term, just after it released. But now obviously it's been a few years, I've had some time to look back on it and reflect on the film itself, because I class this as a film. Obviously it's not an official thing, you know, I'm using copyrighted work, a lot of it, but you know, this is the biggest project I'd worked on at that point in my life, video wise. You know, I'd made a lot of YouTube videos prior to this point of different types, but most of them were gaming or vlog, and some had some outside stuff or multi-cameras or, you know, green screen, stuff like that, but I had never really put myself to a big project like this. And I kind of talk about it in this beginning part, so you know, like, if you haven't seen this, I would highly recommend, maybe after this or before this, go watch it, partly because I am really proud of it, personally, but you probably won't get as much out of it as I will, as silly as that sounds, because this was very much a passion project through and through. It went through a few different, you know, versions of what I wanted it to be and how it was to end up, and the purpose of it being made in the first place, and what it meant creatively and artistically, all this kind of stuff. But I'm still really proud of what it ended up being, partly because, going back to what I was just talking about, this was the first time I really got to show what I could do as a creative to do with video making. You know, I used a lot of different, you know, techniques in editing and a lot of different camera work stuff and a lot of lighting, even though there's not as much lighting in this as I would have liked there to have been in the end, which I'll get into later. This was me showing all that off and being like, this is what I can do. Bo Burnham's Inside being the inspiration for it, because as I talk about in this section, Bo Burnham was a huge inspiration to me and still is, comedically and artistically, you know, coming from YouTube and doing stand-up and being very funny with it and having a meaning behind a lot of it, and just the way he is able to present his ideas and his emotions in a way that is weird in some respects, but also just so interesting and different from a lot of other comedians and musicians out there. I just would love to make something as good as him. I said that in this, I've said that now, I still would love to make something as great as he can make, because he tends to also make stuff for creatives, you know, like a lot of his stuff, as he says in the Make Happy special, he has to write about performing because he feels it's disingenuous for him to write about working a normal job and stuff like that, because he hadn't done that in his life. And I don't know, I think that's part of the reason why I just, him and YouTube in general, I always find the behind the scenes and creators who are just open with you about the process and what it's like to make stuff, and it's just open and human, and just, I don't know, let you in behind the curtain a little, but I always find so fascinating, and I think maybe people came up part of that. But yeah, I wanted to make a remake of that because I loved it so much inside. And I'd always wanted to make something like him and Inside felt like the first thing I could really approach. You know, it was made not entirely solo, because there are loads of credits to that, but it was made primarily as a solo creative endeavour. Obviously, he has a lot more wiggle room as somebody who is probably a millionaire and, you know, can work from home doing whatever he wants and has the budget to buy whatever pieces he can even consider making. But that was a lot more approachable than a live show. And so I wanted to see what I could do. I was given the opportunity to make this and put the time I wanted to because of a college project that we had to start, where we had to just showcase our skills to a business we were making. My business was going to be video editing. There's a lot of video editing in this, as you can see. Boom, excuse given. But yeah, I'm going to be a bit scatterbrained throughout this. I don't know, I just wanted this to be one place for all my thoughts on this to finally be. And as you can see, a lot of weird shit happening on screen at the moment. There's a lot of parts of this film, or of the special, that I wanted to remake and maybe do my own version of, maybe write new lyrics to, or perform myself and stuff like that. But sexting is one that got made very early on. And so it ended up, due to what ended up being finished, being the opener. Yeah, you can see me clothed in a shower. I don't know, I think this is a funny video. I put a lot of effort into, you know, there's little comedic bits in there, like this. I had a lot of ideas for visuals I wanted. This, for example, me and my Bradley Wall shirt, which has become a staple of my stand-up. There's my dog. I borrowed a hat from my friend at the time. He had a cat in a hat for some reason. I don't know, man. This has become a video that a lot of people who I like kind of know have seen of me, which is a bit embarrassing. But here we are. As you can see, I cut out the final verse, one because I couldn't think of many different visual ideas. I had a lot of visual ideas for the first two verses. The third verse, I didn't think of anything specific or funny that I could add, so I just kind of skipped it, because I was like, it's just going to be me repeating clips over and over. I love editing music videos. I really enjoy it. It like gives you a lot of freedom. This part is sick, by the way. I spent hours making this, and this is what I mean by, I knew that I could do all this stuff. I knew that I had the proficiency in editing, and I had the ideas, and that if I really put myself to it, I could make something with all these kind of editing flares in, and you know, different locations and different cameras and stuff like that. But making YouTube videos and trying to make them, you know, weekly, and making them, you know, based off what I was making them, I never really got the opportunity to. And this was the first project I really gave myself time. Obviously, I had the deadline of when that project had to be done, which I'll talk about a bit later. But I could really just spend a lot of time filming and planning the filming, and making a spreadsheet of what I wanted to do, and, you know, filming different days and editing for weeks and stuff like that. And as a result, you get me standing up in a shower, fully clothed. This is going a lot quicker than I thought it would. To be frank with you, I have a lot I want to say, and this is moving very fast, so I'm sorry if this is very scatterbrained. I've never done a director's commentary before, I'm so sorry. But yeah, this is a part which, looking back, there are problems with. The problem being that I had it at way too low of a volume during the final export of the film, compared to the rest of the stuff, which sucks. But you know, it's too late now. I could make a remaster, but then that's gonna be that. I feel like it'd be weird to constantly re-upload this special over and over with different versions and stuff. So I'm just, you know, like with anything, I think there's some quote somewhere about, you know, at some point you have to let your art be, and you just have to. Not saying it's just art specifically, but if you let an artist go back to what he's making over and over and over, they're going to tweak it forever, and they're never going to be happy with it. At a certain point, you have to just leave it and let it be. And this ended up being the state it was in. Specifically, as you can see, this is just a playing of an audio piece of audio, which sounds very strange. But the reason this is here is because the version that I finished of this film for my college project ended up being about half an hour long, and included. I have it now with my second channel publicly if you want to watch it, out of curiosity. But I have the sexting part, the opening, the outro part, where I'm talking to the camera, which we'll get to, anywhere but here, stand-up skit, and the fake reaction video, which I'd filmed way prior to this, which wasn't meant to be part of the special, but I kind of used it as like, you know when music artists add a song from years ago to an album which are like, this wasn't filmed in the same thing, but okay, it generally fits the vibe and the idea. That's what that was for me. But this part, this film was meant to include a lot more rewrites of Bo Burnham's stuff. I wanted to do a rewrite and a reperformance of All Eyes on Me. I wanted to do a rewrite of Left Brain, Right Brain, which is from his What special, and that's what this is from. Misha, my partner, which is crazy she's still with me all this time later, very thankful. I met her the same year I began making this film, in 2022. I should know. Realistically, that's a concern. I don't know what years I'm on half the time. And she helped me out making it. This is when we recorded it. Basically, there's a robot voice beginning with Left Brain, Right Brain. I would replicate that. I asked her if she could be the robot voice. I wrote a script of what that would be. I had the whole song rewrite of Left Brain, Right Brain written down. But I never got to record it. I never had the time, because I finished the college course before I got the time to perform that, or before I got the time to perform the All Eyes on Me part, which is a shame. And that's one of the reasons it took so long to come out, because I wanted to go back and finish the whole thing. But it took me so long that eventually I just thought, well, at this point, it's two different time periods. Like, it had become so like a year apart from when I filmed all this stuff that you're seeing to the stuff I wanted to make. And I was like, well, I feel like it will be too misjointed, and there's two different me's would be in it. So I ended up just completing it with what I had and making it this kind of semi-mess of finished stuff, unfinished stuff, which I do feel like works with what Inside was in the first place anyway. Obviously we've got the Inside outtakes eventually. And yeah, I'm still proud of this. I'm still really proud of this. It wasn't what I envisioned it being to begin with, but I'm still really proud of what it ended up being. Anyway, here's the cringiest part of it. Here's the part I struggle watching back the most. For many reasons. One, I cannot sing, which I do make very clear in this. But this is the only rewrite that ended up in the final film, which I think makes it stand out so much more. Because at first, this was going to be a whole thing. It wasn't just going to be, here's my... Oh my god, I forgot how bad at singing I was in this. Fuck. It's endearing, let's just say that. This kind of ended up being, as a film, mostly me doing music videos to songs that already existed, or taking inspiration from skits or videos that he had in Inside, and make my own thing with that kind of idea. But I wanted it to be bigger than that. You know, I wanted it to be a lot of this, where it's like rewrites of the songs and made more personal to me. The Left Brain, Right Brain thing was going to be the creator versus the created, which is going to be due to my kind of internal dialogue at the time of not being sure if I wanted to do YouTube anymore, kind of figuring out what I was without YouTube. I wanted it to be this thing of the creator was me, Will, and the created was not the character of Will Glitch, because it isn't a character I do online, but it's the almost the YouTube channel itself, and kind of the back and forth of who am I, and like, am I anything about the editing? Do people like me, or this whole thing? It's a shame it never got made. It can't be made now, which I'll go into later. I've lost it. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, I need to concentrate on what's actually happening on screen. This, I think people around me who have watched this compliment me on this, because sometimes not awful at singing, most of the time I am awful at singing. I will be charitable to myself and say it's very open. It's a very open perspective. Like I said, it was this idea of my version of funny feeling, which I wanted to turn into. So a few people had been doing it. Crank Gameplayers, even Nestor, for example, had done his version of funny feeling, where it's like how he was feeling during lockdown and how he's feeling now, expressed in this beautiful way that is the original version of this song. I wanted to do that, and so I talked about all the things I was going through / dealing with at the time of COVID and around the time of COVID. For example, my mum getting cancer, me being stupid and thinking I had maybe had a lump, which isn't stupid, go get yourself checked, but I didn't, that's fine. And I think the songwriting isn't awful. I think sometimes it's quite smart, especially towards the end. I do regret the somewhat how vulnerable I was, only because sometimes some things aren't just me, you know, like life is shared. So when I have a line about like more ex-girlfriend drama, or I talk about losing a friendship, these are people who also exist, who, you know, when you listen to, I always think about this, when you listen to a Taylor Swift song about a breakup, you're hearing Taylor Swift and you don't know who the person she's breaking up with is, or maybe you do know of them, but you don't know them. But people who are like friends of hers or friends of his, or like just mutuals around, it's different for them, you know. Or even the person that the song is about, they might hear that and that's weird, you know. I'm not saying artists aren't allowed to make songs about personal experiences, but it giving an insight to everyone about you and someone else's experience is sometimes, I think, a bit inconsiderate. And I do regret bringing up my ex-girlfriend and my ex-friend. Not that I'm on bad terms with them now, but I shouldn't even be sharing that. For example, you know, it's like victimizing myself in situations that don't need to be having a victim, you know. Life happens and that's okay. And I think that's fine. And I think maybe that could be taken as the meaning of the song, life moves on. I think now, you know, a lot of those issues seem trivial, and I now realise being a different person now than I was when I wrote the song and performed the song and even uploaded the song. I think I was slightly different to where I was when I performed this. Sometimes bad things happen to you, but sometimes you might be doing bad things also, and that's okay to be aware of, and you should be more aware of yourself in certain situations, you know. I've become a lot more self-aware of myself. I've become, in some regards, too self-aware, but I'm getting better with it. But my point is, now, I wouldn't complain about my ex online, basically is what I'm getting at. But yeah, I know I'm talking over it all. This is the director's commentary. That's how this is. I don't know why I'm explaining that. But I think that is it. You know, you upload content online for years. You're going to show yourself in so many different times, and so many different times of your life where you're a different person. And as soon as you become a different person, you become kind of ashamed, in some regards, of that person that existed. But you can't constantly be ashamed of the person you were, because the person you are now will in the future be the person you were. Does that make sense? And if you worry too much about that, you can spiral like I did at COVID a little bit. Not COVID, at university a little bit. Then you're worried about, well, am I an awful person now? Because I thought I was a bad person in the past. I don't know if I'm a bad person now. So in the future, even though I think I'm good now, I might think I'm bad. I don't know, man. I'm spiraling. Here's the funny meme video that didn't used to be in the movie. I recorded this during lockdown. It was basically a critique on reaction videos, but mostly the try not to laugh challenges and stuff, or the try not to sing challenge specifically, where they're like, oh, it's so hard not to sing, when really this is the easiest thing ever. You just kind of sitting there pretending stuff's hard and getting money off of copyrighted content. It's also critiquing how a lot of people will react to copyrighted music and then complain that they get their videos claimed when the reactions they're doing are just playing the video and sometimes pausing. They're not doing any editing really. They're not cutting any of the song out. They're just kind of letting the video play and letting it play enough that people can essentially get the whole experience of the song from your video. But they don't have the self-awareness to be like, well, of course this is getting copyright claimed. This isn't fair use. So that's kind of what this is all a critique of. And it still happens to this day. And now it's in this film. So I guess fuck my entire logic of, oh no, I said badly. My entire logic of like, oh, is it me at a different time and stuff? But, I do think this fits. Obviously, it's like his reaction video, his part of the film. I do think it's funny. It's a bit cringe, but I do think it's still funny. All the hood classic videos at the time on the internet. Will Bassett, unfortunately. Jake Paul, unfortunately. I think there was a suicide joke at the beginning. Damn, bro, here we go. Edgy man. 18, 19-year-old Will. But yeah, what was I to say about this? There was a lot of reaction videos, I guess, who they wanted to get views from reacting to a song, but also couldn't cope with the fact that meant they would make no money, so they would then like distort the audio of the songs they're reacting to, and complain that people weren't watching. It's like, you have to, if all your channel's going to be is reacting uncut to other people's content, there's going to be some downsides to that, I don't know. I just miss when people made content, or like, when people used to be so critical of Jinx, and now people kind of do a lot of the same thing and victimize themselves. It's like, not saying you shouldn't exist, but come on, let's be real here. Look how different the conversation points were between the last segment of this video and now. It's crazy. Oopsie. But yeah. Here's some more behind the scenes stuff. Bits like this. Okay, so bits where, like when I was recording the audio of Misha that never got used, or this part where I'm recording Premiere, these were recorded in 2023, and these were my way of Frankensteining my unfinished segments into the film. I honestly forgot this was in the film, to be honest with you. But the bits that aren't Frankenstein, for example, the singing you just saw at the beginning, the intro, sexting, they were filmed in 2022. Yes, 2022. Anyway, so what is this? Basically, I had an idea to do a music video to Welcome to the Internet, where it's me in front of a green screen having all these funny edits. Which would have made sexting not stand out so much like a sore thumb of being like the only music video remake, because there was going to be this one as well, and it would have made the singing not stand out so much because there would have been a couple other rewrites in that. This is basically what I made as essentially like a storyboard. It's what I wanted to include. I had the whole video mapped out in my head of what I wanted to include and how I wanted the edits to go. And I was going to edit this, and then I was going to record it for a green screen with some lights and a suit. And the green screen section was going to be half of it, and once the song starts to break down, I was going to take the green screen down and make the lighting a bit more similar to the auto-tune rant that Burnham did, but I never got to record it. And this is one of the things which I was waiting to, the only edit I finished was me doing the pedophile edits. Oops, I forgot about that. This is one of the things that held this video up being released so long, because I really wanted to make this, but I never did. And like I said, it got to a point where I was like, well, if I wait so long, it's going to be me in two different parts of my life, and that's going to semi-defeat the entire point of the video. Not the entire point, but the general through line and the artistic place I was in and stuff like that gets changed. And that's why that cuts at that part of the song, because obviously, but after that was going to be about the green screen. There wasn't going to be as much edits. And this is crazy to look back on. This is my Instagram profile picture. So this, obviously, is taking inspiration from the part of Inside, where Burnham says, "Why don't people just shut the fuck up?" And I don't know. We had a cinema room at the college at the time. This was the final thing I filmed for what was going to be the original Still Inside. The final thing I actually filmed was the literal final thing you see in the film. This is the final segment I filmed, basically. And it all came from an argument I had with someone I was friends with at the time about politics of all things, where conservatives were in power in the UK for a very long time. I'm not going to get too deep into it. They were terrible. Every year they would make it worse, and there was an election coming up, and I was making the point of we need to vote for someone else, and my friend was making the arguments of, well, these parties are also bad, but my basic argument was like, well, we know for a fact that who's in power now is bad, and if there's a chance the other person is bad, there's also a chance they're slightly better. We should take the chance on someone different, because we may end up in a situation where they are just as bad, which has actually happened in the UK, or they could get better. That's my point. That was my basic, and that's, I hope that's not too political. I feel like that's same with anything. If you're doing the same thing, like the saying of like the definition of insane is doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? If you're in a situation and things are awful, if you keep doing that same thing and expect things to be different, then things aren't going to be different. But if you take a chance on something else, even if it's an unknown result, things could get worse or things could get better. That's generally my argument. I made it into a fake stand-up skit inspired by the Bo Burnham thing, because we had the brick wall in this area of the college. We had like a staging area. I brought a mic stand, which, as you can see, has no mic holder in it. It is funny because like now obviously I do stand-up more than I do YouTube, which I did not know or even think would be a thing at the time of me recording this. But yeah, this was fun to write and record. It was slightly awkward. I have headphones in, as you can see, because I filmed this at the college while it was open. I had finished, like my year had finished, but there were still the lower years at college doing stuff. College, sick form, not university, sick form. So I had headphones on because I knew there's people outside who could probably hear me, and I was like, well, if I can't hear them, I can't tell when they can hear me, and it means I'm more comfortable talking, especially when I'm like saying weird shit.
Sometimes you get electrocuted, and the NHS falls to bring the labs again. It just never
Is this still relevant?
Somewhat.
Yeah, kinda. Because now reform is looking like they're gonna win.
Each time you use
fuck no, please don't let that happen.
It just ends worse and worse, and you get electrocuted worse and worse each time.
I don't know. What is there to say about this?
Every now and
again, I'm aware that I've been talking very quickly and trying to get through a lot of thoughts, but this film is obviously, there's a lot going on, and I have a lot of thoughts based on a lot of things, and I want to be like, this is how this was made. Also, I don't want to like not finish my thoughts about other stuff. So what can I catch up on?
You don't know what this item is. Now, of course, that
sexting. What happened in that I didn't talk about?
You could go on being electrocuted.
Yeah, a lot of visual jokes, similar to the storyboard edit kind of thing with Premiere that you saw forward in there. I had in my head a lot of things I knew I wanted to make for sexting, which is going to be me having the water check back in my head, which then gets revealed as me being clothed in the shower. Haha, funny visual joke. I wanted to look like a douchebag in a leather jacket, hence me doing that. I wanted the emojis to come up. The screen, the DMs between me and some woman, quote unquote, was me on two phones. I had an old phone that I connected back up to a new Google account, and I was messaging the lyrics of the song back and forward between the phones and screen recording my main phone, which was me, basically, in the chat log. So I could then mask that onto a phone and have the visual puns of the emojis being sent through, and the some woman joke I thought was funny. Maybe misogynistic, I hope. I didn't mean that, but it can sound like that, can't it?
Every single time you use this metal fork to toast out toast.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I did that on the college Wi-Fi though, which I realised halfway through sending the song. And obviously, some of those lyrics about context are just generally sexist, so that was concerning.
That it would be the best decision to go from
Yeah, I uploaded this as a short on YouTube, and it got like 16 views, which I am assuming
in a short way,
is either because one, it was long, or two, because I'm talking about essentially suicide in the video. It's all a metaphor. There's all the reasons behind it, but you know, YouTube's AI doesn't know that. But yeah, big punchline. Don't vote for the fucking Tories, and then you got this bit.
So,
who here likes sex? So this was initially going to be the transition to sexting. Sexting wasn't meant to open up the film, but due to me not finishing everything that was going to be filmed, instead, this happened. And I was like, but I need the opening of sexting to happen after that part, because the joke gets ruined. So instead I just kind of put it in and had it static out. And I forgot I included this as well. I haven't watched this in full since I made it 3 years ago. No, I have a couple times, but not for a very long time. Yes, this was me. I forgot I recorded this. So I did record a demo, a very bad demo, of All Eyes on Me. I can't sing. Again. I wanted to try and replicate the thing that he had, but it was difficult. Like the deep effect he had in his voice. Let's see what it sounds like. Are you feeling nervous? Bad. Really bad. Again. But again, I feel like it fits the aesthetic of Inside, with the intercut of him breaking stuff and you know, unfinished bits, and the outtakes obviously in its own thing show that. This just shows a couple of the rewrite lyrics I had planned, and I thought I filmed it, so I might as well include it. Listen, I had ideas. I wanted to replicate the blue room. I wanted to have it red as well, and kind of like pulse between the two, editing. I did like test footage of me in the blue room, but I never, like I said, finished the song recording wise. I never actually recorded it. This is all exists in terms of that. I forgot I recorded this many tracks for it. It's crazy. But yeah, like I said, there's one of the rewrites I wanted to include. The only lyric I really heard then remember is look back to 2018, like he felt this way before, because 2018 was a year where I felt really down because I'd gone through a breakup, and I felt really depressed about it, and it affected me for a while. So the general thing of you know, me not feeling great in college and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life and stuff, and the general idea of the song, you know, being so upset and sad and depressed, I thought that was a nice lyric, basically. I do wish I finished these. Same with the Welcome to the Internet video. Same with Left Brain, Right Brain. But alas, I have not, and I can't now. The whole thing of failing for many reasons. One of them being that the laptop that had all that footage on died a couple of years ago. I was in the library at university doing some work, screen went black, never came back on, and now the laptop itself is God knows where. So all that footage that I did do that never got put into the video, or all the songs recordings, or the writing and you know, stuff like that, it's gone to the ether, which is why I'm glad that I got this video finished in the way I did, because at the very least everything is out there. I didn't lose everything, and even the stuff I got unfinished is out there and watchable and good for me to look back on and other people to see in some regards, in some ways. This is interesting because I literally just like a few weeks ago uploaded a video about this video, this video that's showing here is a YouTube video I uploaded in 2016 or 2017, I believe, talking about me having a fear of failing. And here we are, talking about it again. So this is the segment where I talk really honestly to the camera about I think, coming to an end of doing
inside.
YouTube.
I hope you
This was going to be the very end of the video.
hopefully,
Well, no, not the
it
very
might
end. It's going to
feel a
be
bit confusing
towards the very end of the
or
video, which it still is.
confused as to what it
But
meant,
I
or
knew I
if
wanted to do
it
this.
might come across
And
a
as
bit
much as I'm
pretentious.
doing the facade of
I
like,
understand that completely,
at the end
right?
I
But,
walk
you know,
off as if I
wanted to
can't
do
finish
something
it.
different and, you know, inside
This was all
something
real.
that
All these
meant a lot
thoughts were
to me
real
really inspired
and
me, so
reflect who I was at the
decided
time.
to do this. Whether
Which
that was
is
a good
that,
idea,
in short, I've been doing YouTube for a very, very
not
long
quite sure.
time,
Yeah,
about
this was
11 years.
special. I hope you enjoyed it.
My second channel, GlitchedOut, had a viral video
I think
for some
that's
reason,
it now.
which managed to get the only reason I'm bringing that up is because it managed to get the channel monetized. Not my main channel, but the second channel, which isn't what I wanted, but still pretty cool, right? Pretty good step.
Fucking weird way of doing it.
And that
Yeah,
felt
I
really
think,
good to make some progress on this dream of becoming a YouTuber that I had. I was uploading weekly there and to the main channel as much as I could. And then about a month later, I got kicked off the partner program, demonetized for reused content, as they put it. And I couldn't fight it. I didn't know what they had deemed reused content. I made a whole video about this, but I didn't know what they deemed reused content, why they deemed it. I had reached out saying I'd delete the stuff they wanted me to delete, but they refused to tell me what it was. I believe, due to this happening to a lot of other people, that it was just a bug, or it was just like a mislabeling. But regardless, so I had finally made a bit of progress in doing this as a career, and then been kicked down quite heavily almost immediately, and it made me feel very hopeless and very demotivated, because as much as I loved doing YouTube, and I feel like this has been lost sometimes when I talk about this now, I loved doing YouTube for a very long time. I still did and do enjoy making content and making videos and editing and stuff like that. But the end goal, of course, was always to do this as a career, because that would be amazing. You know, if there's something you love and you can do something you love as a job and save yourself from doing a boring job, of course you would want that. So to do this for so long, to see slow growth, to see a significant jump towards something, not a huge jump, but a significant progression, and then be kicked down straight away, back off of that progression, if anything below that progression, because I even maybe had thoughts of like, well, maybe my main channel will get demonetized for the same reason, and like, what do I do, you know? And that wasn't the entire reason I got demotivated from YouTube. I'd also been doing it for a very long time. I had a lot less time to spend on it at this time when I was at college. I had a lot of time being spent on college work, with friends, with my partner, you know. And so the free time I had, I didn't always want to spend on YouTube. I wanted to spend it on other things. I just, you know, my standards of what I could make became a lot higher, but I feel like I was being punished for not uploading enough. So I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And this film felt like, obviously, so I was making it for college, and initially it was meant to be uploaded in 2022. It felt like it would be a good final point for the channel, an send off final part of going all out, proving what I could do, who I was, being honest about how I felt, and saying goodbye. Now, obviously, 2026, I've uploaded more videos. I have made things that aren't just videos, short films, music videos, stuff like that, stand-up stuff, and I'm glad I have. And I do feel like this film helped me do that, because it really gave me the time to step back and stop being, you know, my life being ran or revolved around YouTube. It allowed me to, like I said, really expand what I could make, what I wanted to make, the time I had to do other stuff, stop being so stressed about keeping up with an upload schedule and that kind of stuff. And yeah, this is another reason why I didn't want to record the sections I hadn't done yet for the video at a later point, because I felt like it would go against this part, you know? Like, this part is me at the time, you know? And as much as I don't love who I was at this time in my life, I'll be honest with you, I feel like, even though I didn't realise at the time, I feel like I was quite negative, or I, you know, wasn't as, I don't know, there's just a lot of stuff I have since worked on myself, worked on I don't know, you know what I mean. And at the time, you know, I could be like, partly is because of who I was surrounded by or whatever, but it does come down to me at the end of the day. And, you know, I feel like I'm a lot better person now than I was back then. I don't feel like I was ever a bad person, but I do feel like I definitely wasn't as good of a person as I thought I was. But my point there is, it can sometimes be hard to sympathise with your past self when you don't like who they are. But I try and be nice to myself and try and be like, you shouldn't dislike who you were because you weren't doing things necessarily with bad intentions. My point being that is what this video feels like to me, is that it encapsulates the person I was at a very messy time in my life. Not long after finishing this video, not the edit of the video, but not long after finishing filming this video, I had a lot of stuff go on. I went off to uni and was genuinely, ironically, the most depressed I'd ever been since 2018, which was a thing I felt after I wrote that line. And so I do feel like this ended up encapsulating the emotions and stuff that I felt very well. There's my little, I can't do this. Look at my setup back then. Damn. Good shit. Now this, as is evident, was initially going to lead in to my All Eyes on Me rewrite, if I had one. Instead, it leads into Anywhere But Here, which is a song. Anywhere is a song by Chris Calico. I believe, now I understand, about homelessness over Christmas time. I didn't pick up on that. So I'm a bit embarrassed. I made it all about me. But I turned it into me wanting to stop YouTube, and this, I am really proud of this specific music video that I made for this song. The editing I did, the camera angles and all this kind of stuff. The general idea with this, again, going to be my quitting video and going to be the final thing I ever made. I made this little montage, pretended I was watching back my life that I, you know, dedicated to YouTube. Because as silly as it sounds, me being like, oh my god, I'm quitting YouTube, oh, this is a big thing. YouTube was, as I've mentioned a few times, my life for a very long time. It was my big goal. It was what I wanted to do with my life. Every time I thought about a career, it was, well, if I get to where I want to be with YouTube before I need a job, then that can be my job forever. I was so heavily invested and probably, what's the word? Chronically online as a child. You know, the commentary videos. I was a bit of a stan account as well. The internet and YouTube was who I wanted to be and what I wanted my life to be. You know. And so walking away from that and admitting that you had failed at that dream and all this was a big decision for me. And like I said, didn't end up necessarily what happened, but I definitely am not, you know, dedicated to YouTube as I used to be. And this film was ended up being me expressing that creatively, you know. The fact that I went all out and did all this big stuff I'd never done before was me proving what I could do to whoever would see it. It felt like shouting to the void a little bit. Being honest about how I felt outside of YouTube in the song. This video, you know, me watching back and really showing off just how much of my life I had spent doing this thing. I did feel very lost after this, I'll be honest with you, and tell them what I wanted to do with my life and creatively, you know, all this kind of stuff. Eventually led me to doing stand-up, and I went to university, and, you know, I lost a lot of friends, not because of this, but I lost a lot of friends around the time of this, and it was a very weird feeling, but yeah, that's what this video was. I'm very proud of it still, as much as the song choice kind of takes away a song about homelessness. And then at this point, I do quite like this. I don't think it visually came out the best, but it's essentially me being like walking away and always opening the door and coming back to it, you know? And that is ironically where I am now, you know? It feels like a bad ex, you know? I'm just constantly going back to this thing. But I do feel like my relationship with YouTube is a lot healthier now. Creation is a lot healthier now. And this is the ending. This is the end part of the film. I included a lot of footage that never got to be in it. You know, me setting stuff up and making stuff. You know, which I wanted to include and never really found time to in the original edit. This kind of shows off, you know, how I made stuff, which, like I said, is in Burnham's inside. Did that kind of stuff as well. Here's the test footage. Me watching Futurama in the background. I am proud of what I said during this. I do feel like it was slightly rushed, partly because my dog Daisy, who I lived with at the time, was quite young and she kept barking every time I left the room, and I was really frustrated while recording it. The lighting of the purple wasn't lit very well. I needed one more light that was white, I think, to not make me so washed out. But yeah, I am very proud of this video. I know my thoughts have been very scatterbrained. But this ending kind of explains it quite well. I even say about I wanted to make a sequel to it at one point, but I never ended up doing that. But that was just because I had so many ideas of stuff I wanted to do in this light, you know, of like making music videos for songs that already existed, but changing the meaning of them a little bit, or rewrites to existing content, whether that be Bo Burnham or not, which, you know, was a similar style and similar whatever, and but changed it to mean why basically because I didn't have the confidence to make my own songs and my own. Basically, that is, I can't make my own songs, but I know I can make my own videos. It's Millie. Oh my god, rest in peace. I love her so much. But yeah, I had so many ideas. Like I said, a lot of them that didn't even make it into this. And like I said, all of that footage is unfortunately gone now because the laptop killed itself. And like I said, even though this video didn't end up perfect, I'm really happy with how it ended up. And I do feel like this was a good place for me to leave it and finally upload it. And you should check it out. Basically, if you're interested in me, and I don't know, if you, the abstract story, if you can even say that, of someone deciding to leave their passion behind, I think does make the viewing more interesting to watch it with that knowledge, I guess, which is probably what I should bring up in this director's commentary, as that's what you meant to do. But yeah, the lighting's not perfect. I need one more light. Let's look at that stash. Damn. But yeah, like I said, even at this point, this is going to be my quitting video. I thought, you know, because I'd filmed it all in 2022, it was going to be my quitting video, this is going to be my comeback video, and then this final bit got recorded in 2023, like a week before I uploaded the video. Basically, and like, maybe you'll see him again, maybe not. And there's the mic unplug. Iconic. But yeah, that's still inside. I don't know if this is interesting to anybody else. It's a bit scatterbrained. But then again, so is it special. Here are all the credits. Like I said, I really put effort into crediting everything properly. I found people's, like I said, the instrumental cover by Phil Marquez, or Phil Marquez, I think Phil Marquez. I obviously didn't do the guitar for Funny Feeling song. He did. I edited it in. That's why there's a joke of me being like, if it sounds like it's being played by someone else, there's a bug in the camera. That was me basically jokingly bringing attention to it. I still think it's one of the best things I've ever made. I really wish I can make something like this one day where I make everything. You know, I really wish I can one day make something where I don't have to rely on copyrighted content, someone else's songs, you know. I just, that's what I want. And then it can be fully mine, and I can really properly share it and be like, hey, go on Netflix, put me on Netflix, please. But for where I was when I made this, I think I was 20 years old, maybe 19 years old. I do feel like it really replicates where I was at that time. Creatively, emotionally, I feel like it shows off what I could do at that time really well. The editing, even the stuff that isn't perfect, the lighting and stuff. That was my first time really trying out coloured lighting, you know, and, you know, really planning a project myself and not rushing it to completion. And yeah, don't know. I'm really proud of this video. I'm really proud of this film. I just stop saying video. Film. It's on Letterboxd. It's a film. Go review it on Letterboxd. But I'm trying, man. I'm trying to learn keyboard. I have a guitar. I've had that guitar that I use as a prop in that I still have. Haven't learned to haven't learned to play it since. I have a harmonica somewhere. Yeah, I'm at a very different place now than I was at that time. But yes, the video has obviously reached its natural end. The film is over. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. If you've gotten to this point, and for watching anything I've made, I really appreciate all the time being spent by people and any support and all that kind of stuff. It always means a lot. And as much as there's been a lot of negative talk about the negatives of content creating and how it took over my life and how it affected me and all this kind of stuff in the negative way, there's also a lot of positives to it, which I would not change for the world. And I'm very glad to be where I am now. And I do feel like YouTube and me making stuff at such a young age has led me to exactly where I am now. If I didn't start doing YouTube, I wouldn't have done the course that I made this film in. I wouldn't have met the partner I'm with now, and I wouldn't be where I am in general. So yes, there's more to come from me, whether that be video stuff, stage stuff, or whatever. I don't know when or what or how. I have lots of ideas, a lot of things I want to do, and I'm very much looking forward to doing it when the time is right. If that sounds of any interest to you and you're brand new, do all the YouTube things. You like, subscribe, hype, share, short remix. I've been honest and raw for too long. I need the irony to come in. Yeah, but thank you so much. Go check out Still Inside if you haven't seen it yet. It'll be linked probably on an end screen right now. Go check out the Letterboxd. Even if you don't like the film, I don't know, fucking tell me you don't like it. I'll appreciate the numbers regardless. Have a great day. Watch Inside by Burnham, the original one if you haven't already, which is crazy if you haven't. Thanks so much. End of YouTube outro. End of DVD commentary outro. Bye.